but actually the work that you have done is built on building relationships, on connecting us to our humanity, which is in of itself the antidote to Israel's propaganda that has enabled so many people to support this genocide and the terrorist actions from the Israeli government. For me as a Mexican, when I visited my home state where my family hails from, there was this monument honoring Lebanese migrants to Mexico. In fact, Latin America as a continent has a rich history of connections with Lebanese people. And to me, well, knowing that my home state in and of itself acknowledges our connections to our Lebanese communities gives me a sense of also responsibility and connection to support our Lebanese communities here in Aotearoa fighting for justice. And Youssef is right, that politicians need to act, not just talk. And I want to acknowledge that through your presence, through your actions, you have squeezed concessions from the government and other political parties. It didn't just happen out of some compassionate action from politicians, it was through your continuous perseverance and presence. And for us, your actions are a means of remaining connected and accountable, while for some politicians, showing up to rallies is a sign of political risk. For us, it's a responsibility and a commitment to justice. We saw yesterday how Winston Peters' speech was full of empty platitudes. Let's get real. How is questioning the veto powers and calling for a seat in the Security Council in 15 years is useful when at home the government refuses to take action and hold Israel and the corporates that are enabling the displacement and the genocide to account? This government needs to do more than speak at the UN when actually there are so many tangible actions it can take at home. And all the while Netanyahu is literally ordering the killing of civilians in Lebanon while politicians are speaking at the UN. Shame on the Israeli government. So for us, in the past few weeks, what we have done is continuing to hold our government to account for their failure to actually even seek basic briefings on how to divest from companies that are enabling the occupation of Palestinian territories. And I want to make it to Lawrence, who has led that work for us as our trade spokesperson. And through his work we find out the government has done nothing. So there's the government showing up at the UN and trying to talk the talk like, we don't buy it, you don't buy it. The people of New Zealand know that this government isn't doing anything meaningful to ensure that Palestinian people are safe. We've also been asking questions of the Prime Minister just this last week to put pressure on the government. We've called for urgent speeches and we've joined direct actions in Wellington outside of the Israeli embassy calling for the expulsion of the Israeli ambassador. It's time to expel the Israeli ambassador, sanction Israel, divest from corporations enabling those illegal settlements in occupied Palestinian territories, provide additional aid resources and grant spatial humanitarian visas for Palestinians and Lebanese people. Don't let our politicians in New Zealand tell you that they are doing enough. Our government is absolutely not doing enough, and through your pressure, I know that we can make our government actually take meaningful action. So kia kaha to all of you. We'll continue being here, being accountable to you, and ensuring that our government does enough. I want to finish by saying that what is happening in Lebanon will absolutely escalate if Israel is not meaningfully held to account. Israel knows that the talk at the UN allows them to continue to get away with genocide and terrorism until we literally strip them of resources, strip them of our relationship to our government. Israel will never ever learn. So let's keep marching, let's keep taking direct action. And while I know the letters to the MPs are good enough, they will feel the pressure on the streets. So kia kaha, tell one person that you know to show up next weekend, and let's continue growing this movement for justice. Kia ora.